The great hall of Jarl Halfdan is a living beast, choking on wood smoke, spilled ale, and the animal heat of 100 unwashed warriors. The air, thick enough to chew, smells of roasting boar, wet wool, and pine resin from the torches. At the long oaken tables, men roar with laughter, their beards glistening with mead, while hounds fight for scraps of fat and bone in the straw-covered floor. It is, by every measure, the perfect Viking wedding. At the center of this storm sits the groom, Eric. He is a mountain of a man, his red beard braided with silver rings, his voice a bellow that cuts through the din. He slams his drinking horn down, sending ale splashing onto the table, and pulls his new bride, Ingrid, into a crushing, possessive embrace. "A wife worthy of a Jarl's son," he roars, planting a wet, savage kiss on her mouth to the cheers of his men. Ingrid, a vision in heavy blue wool, her blonde hair a complex web of braids and silver charms, smiles. She smiles and blushes and accepts the kiss. But look closer. Watch her, really watch her, when Eric turns away to laugh at a crude joke. The smile evaporates. It doesn't fade, it shatters like a mask of glass dropped on stone. Her blush is not the shy warmth of a new bride. It is the high, painful color of pure, adrenaline-fueled fear. Her hands, hidden in her lap beneath the table, are clenched so tightly her fingernails dig pale moons into her palms. She hasn't touched the feast in front of her. The silver charms woven into her hair feel less like gifts and more like chains, their weight a cold reminder of the bride price her father celebrated. And across the hall, someone sees it all. She is seated at the head of the family table, enthroned like a queen on a carved high seat. Astrid, the groom's mother. While the hall descends into chaos, she is a point of absolute, chilling stillness. Her iron-gray braids are severe, her face a map of unforgiving lines. She does not drink, she does not eat, she does not smile. Her gaze is a physical weight cutting through the smoke and the revelry. It is not the warm look of a mother welcoming a new daughter. It is the cold, appraising, inhuman stare of a wolf judging livestock. She watches Ingrid's every flinch, every forced laugh, every trembling hand. When Ingrid's brother, drunk and happy, stumbles over to offer her sister more mead, Astrid makes a small, sharp gesture with one finger. A servant materializes from the shadows, intercepts the brother, and quietly steers him away. The matriarch's control of this room is absolute. For a single, heart-stopping second, Ingrid's terrified gaze darts across the hall and locks with Astrid's. The roar of the feast, the music, the laughter, it all fades to a dull ringing. In that silence, Astrid's eyes deliver a clear, cold message. You are mine. The celebration is over. Your true purpose begins tonight. Ingrid's breath hitches. She looks away first, lowering her eyes to the table. The gilded cage has just slammed shut, and the matriarch holds the only key. The feast does not end. It moves. A raucous blast from a ram's horn cuts through the din, signaling the moment. The crowd roars, a wave of drunken bodies surging toward the high table. "To the bed! To the sang!" they chant, their voices slurring, their eyes alight with a lewd, primal excitement. Eric, roaring with laughter, seizes Ingrid's wrist and hauls her from the bench. She stumbles, her heavy wool dress catching on a splinter. He doesn't notice. He is the victorious warrior, parading his finest spoil of war. They are swept from the hall in a tide of torchlight and coarse song. Hands, greasy from the feast, rough from the sword hilt, paw at Ingrid as she's pushed along. "Make us a strong son, girl," a man shouts in her ear, his breath hot with ale. "Show him how you were purchased," another jeers. It is a public, ritualized humiliation. Every step is a performance of her new status. Property. Ingrid fixes her eyes on the back of Eric's head, her body rigid, her face a pale, frozen mask. She is an island of cold terror in a sea of drunken revelry. And just behind the main throng, walking with a calm, measured pace, is Astrid. The matriarch follows, her iron-gray gaze fixed on the procession. She is the shepherd guiding her flock, but her sheep are wolves, and the ritual is her design. She watches not with excitement, but with the grim satisfaction of a director whose play is proceeding exactly as rehearsed. This part, the noise, the shame, the publicity, is vital. It is the first layer of the lie. They reach the bedchamber, a small stone outbuilding, cold and separate from the longhouse. Eric kicks the heavy door open and practically throws Ingrid inside. She stumbles and catches herself on the edge of the simple wooden bed, its furs feeling like a trap. The crowd surges forward, pressing into the doorway, their torches filling the small room with sputtering light and shadows. They will not leave. "Now, Eric, show us your strength. We wait for the proof." The door is slammed shut, plunging the room into near darkness, the only light coming from a single flickering candle. But the crowd is still there. On the other side of that thick oaken door, the shouting continues. They pound their fists against the wood. They are listening. Eric, oblivious in his drunkenness, turns to Ingrid, a foolish grin on his face. He believes this is it. He believes the ordeal is this public audience, this shared shameful secret with the entire clan. Ingrid shrinks against the cold stone wall, her heart hammering. She stares at the rattling door, at the sliver of torchlight underneath. She knows what they don't. She knows this public shame is just a performance. It's a loud, perfect, and utterly brilliant deception, designed to distract the entire world from the real horror, the silent ritual that is still to come. The witnesses at the door are waiting for the wrong show to begin. Inside the chamber, the air is cold, but Eric is flushed with drink and exertion. He hears the pounding on the door, the lewd calls of his men, and it goads him on. He is a simple man, a warrior playing the part he has been taught. He turns to Ingrid. There is no romance in the act, no tenderness. It is a brief, clumsy, and impersonal claiming, a final seal on the bride price. Ingrid endures it. Her body is rigid, a statue of cold stone, but her mind is sharp, counting every second. She is not focused on her new husband, nor on the howling mob outside. She is focused on what comes next. When it is finished, Eric lets out a triumphant shout toward the door, a signal to his men. A wave of answering cheers erupts from the other side. His part is done. He has shown his strength. Breathing heavily, he grins at Ingrid and stumbles toward a small table by the bed, where a single ornate skin of mead has been placed, separate from the feasting horns, left just for him. He lifts it high. "To our sons," he slurs, and takes a long, deep pull. He drinks again, greedily. The effect is not slow, like a man succumbing to a long night of drinking. It is terrifyingly fast. The skin slips from his fingers, spilling dark, spiced liquid onto the stone floor. The grin on his face goes slack, melting away. His eyes, moments before bright with drunken pride, turn dull and unfocused. He sways on his feet, his massive body suddenly unstrung, like a puppet whose strings have been cut. He crashes down onto the furs of the bed, not in a drunken stupor, but in a deep, unnatural oblivion. Ingrid doesn't move. She had been watching the mead skin. She knew this was coming. It was a special brew, no doubt prepared by Astrid's own hand, strong enough to fell a bear, and to ensure her son would be nothing more than a pawn in his own wedding night. Outside, the cheers have faded. The witnesses, satisfied by Eric's shout, are finally dispersing, their torches disappearing one by one into the night. The room falls into a profound, terrifying silence. There is only the sound of Eric's heavy, drugged breathing. He is lost to the world, blissfully ignorant of the true ritual. Ingrid, now completely alone with her unconscious husband, straightens her back. She smooths her dress. The public shame was a lie, a performance for fools. She turns her eyes to the door, waiting. The real wedding night is about to begin.
The silence in the chamber is absolute. It presses in on Ingrid, a heavy, suffocating blanket where the drunken roars had been. There is no sound but the deep, comatose breathing of her new husband, a useless lump of flesh on the bed. Eric is gone, lost in a void crafted by his own mother. Ingrid stands perfectly still in the center of the cold stone floor. She does not weep. She does not touch her sleeping husband. She waits, her back rigid, her hands clasped so tightly they ache. She is a sacrifice, waiting for the priests to arrive. Minutes stretch into an eternity. Then, a sound. It's not the pounding of a fist, but the faint metallic click of the heavy iron latch being lifted from the outside. The thick oaken door swings open, not with a bang, but with a slow, deliberate, and utterly silent groan. The single candle on the table flickers wildly in the sudden draft, casting long, monstrous shadows that dance across the walls. A figure stands silhouetted against the pale moonlight of the courtyard. Then another, and another. It is not Eric returning. It is not the drunken warriors. It's the women.
Astrid, the matriarch, enters first. She moves with a terrifying, fluid grace, her iron-gray braids immaculate, her face as impassive as a burial stone. She is flanked by Eric's two unmarried sisters, their faces pale, excited, and cruel. Behind them, two older aunts, women whose faces hold the same harsh lines as Astrid's. No men. This is a right that belongs to them, and them alone. They file into the small room, their woolen dresses whispering against the stone. They form a silent semicircle around Ingrid, their presence sucking all the warmth from the air. The temperature seems to drop instantly. Astrid's cold eyes flick once to her son, still lost in his drugged sleep, and dismiss him. He is irrelevant. Her gaze settles on Ingrid, and this time there is no pretense. It is a look of cold, absolute ownership. The fools are gone. Astrid's voice cuts through the silence, low and sharp as an icicle. The performance is over. She takes a step closer. Ingrid, trembling but defiant, forces herself to meet the matriarch's gaze. "Now," Astrid says, a faint, cruel smile touching her lips, "your real wedding night begins." Astrid takes another step, circling Ingrid slowly, her eyes missing nothing. The other women remain by the door, a silent, unmoving chorus, their faces a mixture of fear and cruel anticipation. "Do you know what power is, girl?" Astrid's voice is a low murmur, yet it fills the stone room. "My son thinks it is the gold in his purse, the strength in his arm. He is a fool, a useful, simple fool." She stops directly in front of Ingrid, so close that Ingrid can smell the sharp, herbal scent of sage and iron on her. Men build halls of wood and stone. They crumble, they burn. Astrid gestures dismissively at her comatose son on the bed. They spill their seed and call it a legacy. But we build a hall of blood. It endures, it strengthens, it rules. This, Ingrid understands, is the matriarch's creed. This is the welcome. My son's duty was a public game for children, a show for drunks. This is the true binding, the one that matters, the one that we control. She nods once, a sharp, bird-like gesture. At the signal, the other women move. It is a practiced, chilling drill. The two aunts step forward, one bolting the door from the inside, the other snuffing out the single candle, plunging the room into a near-total darkness, broken only by the thin, cold moonlight from a high, narrow window. The two sisters then step past Ingrid. They carry a small, dark, carved wooden box. They place it on the floor at Ingrid's feet with a heavy, final thud. Every woman who has married into this bloodline has stood where you stand. I stood here. My mother-in-law stood here. We have all been tested. We have all proven we are strong enough to carry this family's blood, and strong enough to keep its secrets. She looks down at the box. My son gave you his name, a trifle. I am here to see if you are worthy to be one of us, to see if you will be a vessel for our line, or just a crack in the cup to be discarded. The test is not for the husband. It is for the matriarch. It is not a celebration of marriage, but an initiation into the ancient, ruthless sisterhood that truly rules this family. Astrid is the high priestess, and this cold, dark room is her most sacred temple. Astrid taps the dark carved box with the toe of her leather shoe. Open it. Ingrid's breath hitches, but she obeys. Her fingers, numb with cold and fear, fumble with the wooden latch. It's not locked. It opens with a faint sigh of old wood. Inside, resting on a bed of faded, stained velvet, are three objects. A small, wickedly sharp obsidian knife. A rough, dark red stone, worn smooth as a river pebble. And a heavy silver goblet, black with tarnish, holding a thick, dark and oily liquid that smells of bitter herbs and something coppery, something like old blood. Ingrid recoils, but Astrid's hand shoots out and grabs her chin, forcing her to look. The bloodline is everything, the matriarch snarls, her voice a low, fanatic hiss. We do not suffer the weak. We do not tolerate the barren. A weak branch must be pruned before it can poison the tree. She releases Ingrid's face with a shove. The test is simple. You will prove your loyalty. You will prove your strength, and you will ask the gods to bless your womb or curse it. At Astrid's nod, the two sisters seize Ingrid's arms, their grips like iron talons, holding her in place. First, Astrid commands, you will prove you can endure. This is the Mother Stone. It has tasted the pain of every bride in my line. Before Ingrid can react, one of the sisters yanks her hand forward, palm up. Astrid presses the stone, now revealed to be heated, having been held in coals before they entered, onto the soft flesh of Ingrid's palm. She screams, a sharp, stifled sound as her skin sears. She tries to pull away, but the sisters hold her fast. Tears stream down her face, but she bites her lip until it bleeds, refusing to give them the satisfaction of a second scream. Good, Astrid says, her voice devoid of emotion, watching the ugly red burn form. Pain is the first gate. Now for the second. She picks up the silver goblet, swirling the viscous dark liquid. You will prove you can accept our blood. She holds the cup to Ingrid's lips. This is the legacy, brewed from the roots of the sacred mountain, mixed with the blood of every matriarch who came before. My blood is in here. My mother's blood is in here. Ingrid gags at the smell, but the sisters pinch her nose, forcing her mouth open. Astrid tips the goblet. The vile, cold, metallic-tasting concoction floods Ingrid's throat. She is forced to swallow, every drop a new violation. Finally, Astrid says, her voice dropping to a whisper as she picks up the gleaming black knife. You will prove you can spill blood for this family. She holds the knife out, not to Ingrid, but toward the bed, toward her sleeping, oblivious son. He is the vessel, Astrid says, her eyes glittering with a terrifying cold fire. But he is weak. He is my weakness. You must prove you will protect the bloodline, even from him. Swear your oath. Swear you will put this family's future before his life. Swear you would kill him yourself if he ever threatened our legacy. Ingrid, trembling, her hand on fire, her stomach churning from the potion, stares at the knife. This is the true test, not of fertility, but of ruthless, absolute, and murderous loyalty. It is a curse, binding her to them in a way no marriage vow ever could. Ingrid's horrified eyes are fixed on the obsidian knife, gleaming in the faint moonlight. Her mind races. This isn't a test, it's a trap. She looks at Astrid, at the sisters, at the silent aunts. Their faces are hard, expectant. They are waiting for her to take the knife and speak the oath. And in that terrible, stretched silence, Ingrid understands. She sees the shadows of the brides who came before. She sees the ones who passed, and, in a flash of cold dread, she understands what happened to the ones who failed. The test wasn't just if she would endure the pain, or if she would drink the blood. The true test was if she would hesitate. Generations of women have conspired to erase this night. The bards sing of our brave husbands, of the battles they've won. They never sing of the battles we fight in the shadows. They never sing of the cost of a pure bloodline. Astrid leans in, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Do you think you are the first bride to be brought here? Do you think you are the first to be questioned? She gestures to the dark earthen floor beneath their feet. This chamber has consecrated more than just marriages. The crime, the secret, it's not just the ritual itself. It's what happens when a bride refuses, when she screams too loud at the burn, when she spits out the blood, or when she looks at the knife and sees a husband to be loved, not a tool to be discarded. A weak bride, a disloyal bride, brings only ruin. She brings weak sons. She brings a divided house. She is a disease. Ingrid's blood runs cold. A bride who failed the test, a bride who hesitated, never saw the morning. She would simply vanish, a tragic accident, a new wife who fled in the night, shaming her family. It would be so easy, and every woman in this room, the sisters, the aunts, the matriarch, would tell the same story. They would mourn together, a perfect chorus of deceit, while the failed bride's body lay buried beneath the stones of this very room. That is the secret. Not the ritual, but the consequence. Not the test, but the sentence. This chamber is not just a temple, it is a tomb. And generations of women, mothers, sisters, aunts, are bound together by the shared, unspoken crime of protecting the bloodline at any cost. They are a jury of executioners, and Ingrid is on trial for her life. The air in the tomb-like chamber is dead. Ingrid's life hangs suspended in that single, terrible moment. The faces of the women are masks of cold expectation. Fail, and she will join the other weak brides beneath the stones. Ingrid looks at the obsidian knife. She looks at her sleeping, ignorant husband. Then slowly she raises her head and looks directly into the icy eyes of her mother-in-law. In that instant, the terror doesn't vanish, but something else is born from it. A cold, hard, and ruthless resolve. The naive girl who walked into the feast is gone, burned away by the mother stone, poisoned by the blood oath. A different woman stands in her place, a survivor. Her hand, the one that isn't blistered and seared, reaches out, not with a tremble, but with a chilling, steady deliberation. Her fingers close around the cold hilt of the knife. She does not look at Eric. He is irrelevant. She holds the knife up, a dark offering, her gaze locked with Astrid's. "The bloodline is all," Ingrid says, her voice a raw, cracked whisper that is somehow stronger than a shout. "I understand." A profound silence follows. The sisters and the aunts watch the matriarch. A slow, terrifying smile spreads across Astrid's face. It does not touch her eyes. It is not a smile of warmth or welcome. It is a smile of recognition, a predator recognizing its own kind. She nods once. It is done. As if a spell is broken, the women step back. The suffocating pressure in the room releases. One of the sisters unbolts the door, cracking it open. The first faint, sickly gray light of dawn spills onto the floor. The other sister retrieves the box, the goblet, and the knife, hiding the instruments of the ordeal. Ingrid is left standing alone, her body shaking with a violent, delayed reaction. Her stomach heaves from the vile concoction. Her burned palm screams in agony. She is exhausted, traumatized, and violated, but she is alive. Astrid pauses at the door, turning back to look at the trembling girl. "Rest," the matriarch commands, her voice holding the first faint trace of not kindness, but acceptance. "My son will wake soon." The women file out as silently as they arrived, leaving Ingrid alone with her drugged husband. Dawn is breaking. She has passed the test. She has survived. But as she clutches her burned hand to her chest, she knows she is not broken. She is forged, and she is now one of them, bound forever by the terrible secret she endured and the one she now shares. Hours later, the gray light of dawn has given way to a flat, cold morning. Eric stirs on the bed, groaning. He rolls over, his hand pressing to his temple, his mind a fog of mead, blurred memories of a feast, and a pounding headache. The potent herbal drug Astrid used has receded, leaving behind only the dull, aching proof of a night he believes was filled with nothing but drink. He blinks, his eyes struggling to focus on the woman sitting on a stool by the cold hearth. "Ingrid," he mutters, his voice thick. The men, they are gone?" Ingrid turns. She has washed her face. Her hair is rebraided. Her face is a perfect pale mask of wifely concern. She has wrapped her burned palm in a strip of linen, a wound she will blame on a hot coal from the fire. "They left hours ago, my husband. You were very tired." Eric grins, a foolish, proud look. "Aye, a fine feast." He sees the bandage. "Your hand?" "A minor burn from the hearthstone. It is nothing." She lies, her voice smooth as polished stone. He is satisfied. He is a simple man, and the lie is simple. He swings his legs off the bed, pleased with himself, and reaches for a heavy leather pouch that sits on the table beside the bed, right where the drugged mead skin had been. He didn't put it there. He doesn't even remember bringing it. But it is here. "Then, for my new wife, the Morgengefu," he says, holding the pouch out to her, "the morning gift." Ingrid's eyes meet his. He is smiling, proud to be performing this one simple public tradition he actually understands. He believes this is his gift, his choice, a reward for his new bride. But the twist, Ingrid knows the truth. She knows Erik didn't choose this. He has no coin of his own that his mother doesn't control. She knows Astrid placed that pouch there while he slept, just as she had placed the mead. This isn't a present, it's a transaction. She reaches out with her uninjured hand and takes the pouch. It is heavy, far heavier than a usual gift. It is the weight of silver, the weight of a secret. She opens it and pulls out not a simple brooch or a ring, but a thick, opulent necklace of hammered gold and dark glittering gems. It is a jarl's ransom, a queen's necklace. It is absurdly valuable. It is not a gift for a new wife. It is a payment for an accomplice, a bribe for the survivor of the ordeal. It is the first set of golden handcuffs, locking her into the family and into their silence. Ingrid's fingers close around the cold, heavy gold. The gems are dark, like solidified drops of the legacy she was forced to drink. She can feel the weight of it, a physical burden, a chain. Erik beams, his simple pride swelling. "It is beautiful, yes, from my mother's own collection. She insisted." He sees only a priceless gift. Ingrid sees the truth. It is the price of her complicity. It is the down payment on a lifetime of silence. Slowly, she lifts the necklace. She turns her back to Erik, a gesture of wifely submission. Will you put it on me, my husband?" "Of course," he says, his large, clumsy fingers fumbling with the heavy golden clasp. He is still groggy, his mind slow, oblivious to the drama that played out while he slept. As he fastens the clasp, the metal settles onto her skin, cold as a shackle. Ingrid lifts her head, and her eyes meet her own reflection in a polished bronze mirror hanging on the opposite wall. She sees the pale, haunted face of a stranger. She sees the dark, glittering gems at her throat. And in the mirror, reflected just over her shoulder, she sees the doorway. Astrid is standing there. She has been watching, silent as a shadow. Erik, finished with the clasp, steps back, his part in this play complete. He does not see his mother. Ingrid's eyes lock with the matriarch's in the Brana's reflection. Astrid's face is impassive, but her gaze is a steel spike, pinning Ingrid in place. It is a look of pure, unadulterated ownership. Ingrid touches the necklace, the golden handcuffs. She understands the unspoken message perfectly. You are one of us now. You have our blood in your veins and our gold at your throat. You will bear our sons, you will guard our secrets, and you will teach this ritual to your own daughter-in-law one day. You are trapped. A slow, cold smile, a mirror of Astrid's own, touches Ingrid's lips. She has survived. She has been paid, but she is no longer a victim. She is a conspirator. The romantic saga is dead. The wicked history has just begun.